It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
The Jazz, the Mammoth, and the Utes, Cougars, and Aggies. When it comes to sports in Utah, we've got you covered. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaCoe, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Great song.
Oh, Cougar Melon Camp. Cougar for part of it.
Yeah.
And brought the Melon Camp. But either way, early, late, I'm in.
Always.
We were both born in small towns,
Yes.
weren't we?
Yep. That's the thing. Finished off in you couldn't have gone from smaller to bigger than Highland all of a sudden. And that's Highland back
then.
Pre-Silicon Slopes days.
Yeah, there were plenty of empty lots.
Yeah. And then going to Dallas, that had to be a bit of a culture shock.
But Declo to anywhere.
Oof, yeah.
Your mission, we got to talk about how you adjusted there. Wow.
Yeah, population 300. And by the way, it just kind of stayed flat. You know, people get born, people pass away, but it always just
Do they have the population on the sign?
Yes, they do.
300.
300.
You have to prove that visually to me next time you're there.
I will. I will go take a picture of the sign. Actually, I think it has creeped up to like 320 something now. So
man, it's booming.
It's a population boom going on at that's true. Yeah. People are getting a little bored in the high school ranks, and sometimes that leads to a little bit of a
Only a couple
influx
things
of the
you
population.
can do in town.
I know.
Fight.
And the other one leads to some, extended families a bit.
It leads to
I was supposed to have
sticky situations.
My graduating class was supposed to be the largest graduating class in Declo High School history at like 71. But we had 3 or 4 young women who had to drop out because of, that. And so it dropped us. So my graduating class was like 66.
Man, Plano, we were like over 2,000 back then. I moved to a metropolis. It was booming at the time.
Joining us now, one of our favorite CBS Sports, Shehan Jeyarajah, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Shehan, how are you, man?
I'm doing well, and I had a lot more than 60-something people in my graduating class, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And my wife, when we got married, her brother was graduating high school, and he went to Cottonwood here in Salt Lake City, which is much, much bigger. And she's like, you want to go to graduation? I'm like, yeah, sure. That's cool. Because I was used to graduation being like 45 minutes long. We're 45 minutes and we're not even through the D's yet. And I was like, this is horrible. This sucks. I don't want to
the real world, Scotty.
Yeah.
I think that my high school out down here in DFW is the second biggest single high school district in the state. So only behind Allen High School. So it was an adventure. I think we had like 800 or something in our graduating class.
Wow.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Coppell.
Okay. I'm a Plano senior guy.
Oh, look at that. Well, you guys are even bigger than us. You guys have a lot of people.
Yeah, we did even back in the day. I was just telling Scotty, I was there when it started booming, man.
Hey, so week 1, is there any chance Brandon Sorsby's playing for Texas Tech? I can't imagine this works, this Hail Mary of his.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys have talked about it, but in the last 20 minutes or so, an injunction has been filed, and in it, it's interesting, right? I mean, of course, they admit to some of the stuff that has been circling out there. They admitted that he placed a handful of bets on Indiana football, which per NCAA rules, would mean that his eligibility is over, that he cannot play college football anymore. But they do try to make the case that, this is him dealing with a mental health situation, that the NCAA is actually playing into this with their embracing of gambling as a financial product. Look, I mean, I think that you have to take the swing. I think you have to take the Hail Mary. I think you have to try and see what you can do. And he also kind of acknowledges in the filing that they want to have a decision before June 22nd, which would be a potential entry deadline for the supplemental draft into the NFL. So I think that they're trying to throw everything that they can at the wall. To me, though, I just can't see it, right? Like, I understand it's going to go to a likely friendly judge in Lubbock County. They're going to try to get the short-term thing done, just like we saw with Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss, with Owen Heineke in Oklahoma. But it just really feels very open and shut. They have explicit rules, and if all of a sudden you're kind of trying to make exceptions for why somebody explicitly broke rules that he knew were wrong on the basis of mental health, you better have a good explanation for why he's going to be able to come back and participate in college football in the fall without this being a concern.
Looking at the schedule, and when the NFL schedule came out, I kind of dug into the Big 12 schedule, and there are a couple games again overseas that the Big 12 is involved with. TCU is playing over in Dublin on the 29th, and then the conference game between Arizona State and Kansas in London on the 19th. Are you a fan of these games over there?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag for me, right? I think that having these individual moments is okay. Like, I think that especially having like a week 0 showcase game, I don't mind that very much, right? Like, I think that the Dublin game has been a lot of fun. We've had some good results over the past couple of years. It's a good showcase, I think. I would just be a little hesitant to go a lot further than that, right? Like, I think that, for us, I mean, we all love college football, but I mean, we kind of have to think about it, too, from a consumer product perspective in Europe, right? Like, you're telling me that university students are going to play these big games and people in Germany are going to care? I mean, I don't necessarily know that that's the case, right? So I think that having 1 or 2 a year is kind of a cool, fun experience. But, like, I feel like we're pushing the envelope just a little bit. Now, I do feel a little bit differently about, the Canada, the Mexico, like sort of the more adjacent sites, because I do think that there's a little bit more potential market value there. But the Europe, Asia, Australia, some of the ones that have been posted in the past, like I just think that there is not a whole lot of value to those games.
Is there a financial, like, because I know Brett Yormark's all about the long game, and I know that they're trying to build, opportunities to make money down the line, but is there a short-term financial justification for this?
Yeah, so with the Ireland game, they definitely get a fairly significant payout for participating in that game, and then a lot of these neutral site games, even the ones that we have in the States, it is sponsorship dollars. I know that, for example, Baylor plays Auburn this year, and Auburn moved away from their home stadium to Atlanta, and they're receiving sort of NIL compensation in exchange for doing that, right? So there is short-term financial gain. And again, that's where I draw sort of this distinction between the European games versus something like Mexico, where I think that there is sort of market value potentially long term with trying to get into, the Mexico City market, some of the border towns, stuff like that. Like, I think that the culture is a little bit more integrated in that way. I just don't think that you're ever going to have people in Germany looking up and being like, hey, when does West Virginia play today? I think it's a little bit of a different situation.
With spring ball now kind of in the rearview mirror, obviously all the teams with their rosters fairly set, and the Sorsby news, do you have confidence that BYU could win this conference next year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that for me, Texas Tech is still the favorite, but they went from like 95% favorites to like 49% favorites. And I think that BYU is right there in like the 30 to 40% range. Like, they potentially could be the biggest beneficiary of this, because you look at this BYU team, they have playmakers back at every level of the field. They have the best running back in the conference in LJ Martin. They have maybe the best, arguably the best safety in the conference in Palatau Satuala. Like, they have so many guys back who have a chance to break out in 2026. And that doesn't even get into Bear Bachmeier potentially with a full offseason of work taking another step. So this is a team that I think that even if Texas Tech was fully powered, would still have a chance against them. I still had them even before this in the Big 12 title game. But if Texas Tech is suddenly a little bit less of a sure thing than they were before, absolutely, BYU has a chance to have a really special season.
Who in the Big 12 do you think really helped themselves coming out of spring that we need to be talking about, but maybe we're not?
Yeah, I mean, a couple teams come to mind, right? I think that Oklahoma State was one that we expected, right? But they have imported an offense that I think has a chance to be pretty darn special. And, we've heard pretty good things so far out of spring camp. I'm hoping to make it up there in the next couple of weeks and hopefully learn a little bit more as well. I think that also TCU, Jaden Craig has been a revelation at quarterback. I mean, they really feel like he has a chance to be a Sunday player if some things break right. And again, we've heard that he has been very impressive in camp to this point. I think that also I think of a team like Kansas State where they have to rebuild a lot on the defensive side of the ball. Of course, their season really will hinge on what Avery Johnson is able to be in Colin Klein's offense, but early returns have been really good. So those are all three teams that I think could go from being, sort of mid-tier teams in the Big 12 to maybe pushing that top 3 to 5 range and maybe even sneaking their way into the Big 12 title game.
Matt Campbell did a great job at Iowa State, and he's moved on with about, I guess, the whole team and half the city, it sounds like. It seems like Penn State's going to be Ames, just in a different uniform. But how long will it take in your mind for Iowa State to kind of get back? Or is something because of their locale, it's just really going to depend on the coach?
Well, I think that with Iowa State, and I mean, they're not unique to this, but I think that they're especially this. Like, it is so much of a timeline game with them, right? Even with Matt Campbell, I mean, they had the years where they were extremely senior heavy, and they had the years where they were kind of starting from scratch. And the magical thing about Matt Campbell is that he managed to make those rebuilding seasons 7 and 8 wins. That's probably going to be tougher for, frankly, any coaching staff because, I mean, we've never really seen it at Iowa State, frankly. But I do think that when I look at the roster that Jimmy Rogers brought in, I think that he made some really smart calls in the transfer portal. Jalen Rayner's a guy at quarterback who's played a lot of football at Arkansas State. I think an undervalued player. They brought in some guys in the trenches, including Jake Taylor from Oklahoma, that I think actually, again, are a little undervalued. Some of them are high upside, low downside players, but you just have to take some of those risks when you're transitioning a roster. So, I think that after they lost so much, I mean, you said half the town left. I mean, it really was pretty much the whole town.
It was the whole town.
It was the whole town went to State College, Pennsylvania. I think that they were last in the Big 12 in returning production. I think they didn't return a single starter off of last year's team. And I think that they've done a good job of building themselves back up to where, maybe competing for bowl eligibility is within sight. When you talk about them getting back to what they have been for the past decade, though, I mean, it's just going to be a 2 to 3 year process. This is always going to be a developmental program.
Rich Rodriguez has never given me a reason to cheer for him, but I've always kind of had a soft spot for Rich Rodriguez because, obviously the great West Virginia years, then he struggles at Michigan, has the issues at Arizona, and now he's back at West Virginia. For some reason, I really want this to be successful. I want him to capture a little bit of magic again. Is there any chance that happens for him?
Man, it's funny, right? Because like you said, he's not like the most cuddly of guys by any means. And he walked in and basically said, get ready to work. But I think that there is something to being unapologetically yourself, right? And I think that Rich Rodriguez has done that. I was really curious even when he came in last year, just how he'd be able to deal with this new era where guys don't have to wait 2-3 years to get on the field, where they expect to be on the field immediately. They don't want to wait to be developed the same way. And I think he's handled it pretty well so far. We've heard, they're definitely a team that we've heard some encouraging signs in the spring. They've had 150 players come through their program the past 2 years, but they've managed to hang on to some really good ones. I'm excited to see Cam Cook, last year's leading national rusher on their roster, coming over from Jacksonville State. They've got 2 quarterbacks that I'm really interested in Michael Hawkins and Scotty Fox Jr. They're a team that I think is probably more of an up and down team in 2026, but we haven't had a full Morgantowning of anybody since Dana Holgerson left, frankly. Like, they haven't beaten or competed with high-level ranked teams. I think that they're going to get somebody this year. And, again, if they're able to find a couple of freshmen and sophomores, like, I think that they could really have something heading into 27 and 28.
Here on the station last week, we had longtime Utah coach Ron McBride on the station, and he brought up going down to BYU and watching spring ball, watching Bear Bachmeier. And he really paused and gave Bear great compliments and really said, this kid is special. Like, I see special in him, and went on and on about him. But where do you rank Bear going into the season in terms of QBs in the Big 12?
It's interesting, right? Because I think that people approach him like he's going to have some of the limitations that he had as a freshman, when I really look at, like, this is the worst Bear Bachmeier that we're probably ever going to get, right? Like, I expect that this offseason, again, we've kind of heard they're going to work more on some of the drop back downfield passing stuff, right? I think that they're going to unleash him from the start of the season. But, like, when you look at the floor coming into the year, I mean, it's the quarterback who, threw for 2,500 yards, rushed for 600 or 700, scored 30 touchdowns. Like, that's what he did with no preparation. I think that heading into this year with, again, a lot of that roster back, with LJ Martin back, I mean, I think that there's a pathway, certainly, for him to be a top 3 type of quarterback in the league. I think at the top right now, it's wide open. I mean, I think that Sorsby was going to be a player who's going to compete for that top spot. I think that right at this moment, the guy who kind of starts there is Noah Fafita at Arizona. Drew Mestemaker coming to Oklahoma State, also a really good player. I mentioned Jaden Craig as a potential high upside guy. Like, there's a lot of guys who have the potential of being in that top group. I think that Bear's one of the few who deserves to start there to start the year. And again, I think that even more is potentially on the table if he takes that step as a passer.
It seems like it's been since the late 90s that Kansas had a different quarterback than what we've seen over the last 6 years. Can they get this thing righted? Because it seems like Leipold had this thing ready to go, and then it just kind of just fizzled on him.
No, I mean, this is the thing that's so surprising about Kansas, like you said, is that they just don't feel like they have an identity right now. And a lot of that is because I think their timelines got messed up because of Jalen Daniels' injuries. But I do think that they're a program that's a little bit looking for what that next spark is going to be. Now, I've heard really good things. I heard that they like Zeke Marshall, the redshirt sophomore coming in there. They think that he's somebody who has the potential to be a dual threat guy. They bring in Dylan Edwards as well at running back. So you think that the offense is probably going to be a little bit better than it's been the last 2 years. Defensively, they just haven't found a whole lot of answers the past 2 or 3 years. And I just, I think that early on, I mean, something that was pointed out to me certainly was that, a lot of the guys who were recruited by the previous staff, they did a great job of developing and kind of turning into great next level players. They haven't necessarily done that the same way with some of the guys that they've brought on campus. They've hit in the transfer portal a little bit, but they just haven't done a good enough job of developing their own guys. I think that that's going to change. I think that's going to continue to get better, but like this is a big season for them. It's going to kind of determine, is Kansas a team that's fighting for bowl eligibility, or can they be more than that?
The Utes, obviously, with this coaching change, and we had Morgan Scalley on the show last week. Listening to him talk, he's talking about all the right things. There's always the question whether culture can survive from one coach to the other. I'm a believer that it can with Morgan because he's kind of been there every step of the way. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely think that it can. I think that when you look at Utah, it was a Kyle Whittingham culture, but it's also a Utah culture in a lot of ways too. This is the way that this program has been for essentially 20 years at this point. There's a lot of people in that athletic department and that football program that play a role in that, not just the head coach, and many of them are still there, of course, led by Morgan Scalley. And I think that as well, like when you have a team culture that's, especially one that's built around being physical and defensive, like having some of the same leaders there is a big deal. And even bringing back some of the key players on offense, like Wayshawn Parker, like Devin Dampier, like I think that sort of stuff matters when you're transitioning eras. So I'm not all that worried, honestly, about, like you said, kind of the culture, about like the feeling of Utah football changing in any way. Now, again, talent-wise, I think that that's sort of the big thing is, are they going to be able to, one, restock, and two, continue to build not just this year but in the next couple of years. But, from a team identity, roster identity, coaching identity, I don't expect any issues moving over to Morgan Scalley.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. So let's take the coaching element out of it and just focus in on personnel. Where do you think Utah stacks up right now going into this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think that they're still going to be a very good team. I certainly worry a little bit more about depth than I did last year, just because of some of the guys that they lost and guys being asked to step into bigger roles. And look, I mean, I think that regardless, if they don't lose a single guy to the portal, for example, like, we're still asking a lot of questions about this offensive line, right? Because they were arguably the best in all of college football last year, and both their tackles were first-round picks. And that's not something that you can just necessarily guarantee is going to replicate itself. So I think that this is still a team that's going to be, if some things hit right, in the 9-10 win range. But again, they're going to need to grow up their trenches pretty quickly to have a chance to keep up with the very top of the Big 12.
Shehan Jeyarajah joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's an interesting situation we're dealing with right now in this landscape of college athletics and where things are at and what we're looking at. Do you believe this 2014 playoff is an opportunity for it to get better? And do you think this is it a likelihood? And are you a fan of it?
Yeah, I'm really not a fan of it, to be honest. I think that for me, there's a couple pieces of it, right? One is, go back and look at some of the teams that would have been in that 20 through 24 range over the past couple of years. Like last year, we would have been talking about 8-4 Iowa. We would have been talking about, Michigan, that really looked pretty bad to end the year. We would be talking about Houston, which was a fun, encouraging team, but certainly one that I think was far behind, for example, the top 12 to 15 teams. So I think that for one, the quality of teams that would be making the playoff, I think it is notable that they are such a step below the ones that would make a 12 or even a 16 team playoff. I think the other thing too is I know that nobody really cares so much about this, but I feel like we are starting to get to a point where the schedule is just going to suck of watching the playoff, right? With a 12 team, every game is able to be a true feature game where everybody sits down and watches it together. If you're suddenly adding, even if we just jumped to 16, we'd be talking about 8 first-round games that would need to be played sometime in December. Now, if you go to 24, you're adding a whole nother round of 8 games. At a certain point, when are people just going to be like, these aren't even fun games? This isn't even that fun to watch. I don't even, we can talk about the selection and all that sort of stuff. As a football fan, I'd kind of be like, I guess I'd watch Iowa, Arizona, but why? I think that 12, frankly, has been a really good number. The only thing I think that's been a little bit of a drawback from 12 is I don't think the buys have been valuable. So I'd be okay going to 16 from that perspective. But when we start going to 24, to me, the only way that 24 makes any sense is if we're doing the 10 conference champions all get in, which obviously we're never going to do, right? And so I'm not a big fan of it. I think that, again, just as a consumer product, I think it's going to have very diminishing returns and in some ways, I think, undercut the value of what the playoff is in the first place.
What annoys you more, the college football playoff expanding or the NCAA tournament expanding?
Well, I think it's college football primarily because I think that with the NCAA tournament, we kind of know hey, you know what, we're flooding the zone with games in the first place, right? For me, to be frank, I don't really watch the first 4 games all that much regardless. I follow them. If there's something close, maybe I'll flip it on. But Thursday's the day to me when the NCAA tournament starts. I think that with college football, it's not supposed to be like that, right? It's not supposed to be we're playing 8 games that you don't need to pay attention to. It's supposed to be eventized. So I think that while I don't love that the NCAA tournament expanded, it's less of a big deal to me than the college football playoff potentially going all the way to 24.
By the way, while we've been talking, multiple reports that the Mountain West and the Pac-12 have reached a settlement in their lawsuit over exit fees and poaching fees. Terms not announced yet, but must be filed with the court by June 2nd. So there we go. Looks
Progress.
like that messy divorce may have finally been wrapped up. But Shehan, appreciate your time, man. As always, looking forward to catching up with you throughout the offseason.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks so much for having me.
There you go. Shehan Jeyarajah, one of our favorites right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You just get him going on a topic, man. He's well-versed in that Big 12.
Cue him up. Let him go. All right, so we'll have a little sports roulette coming up next and see if we get more details. As it appears, the Mountain West and the Pac-12, Mom and Dad have reconciled, and apparently things are okay now. So we'll talk about that next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did she have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
This is Sports Roulette on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It is another edition of Sports Roulette right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Gerard alongside the coach, Tim Lacombe. By the way, big thanks to Sam Merrill, who joined us coming off a 23-point performance. Said kind of felt like that game was coming. He'd had some good moments, but felt like that game was in the mix, and sure enough, it's not a bad night to have a good night when you have 23 points in a Game 7. And
you have to win that game, or you're done, and you're on the other team's floor. I mean, he came in, brought great energy, provided great lift, and he was on with us today, the day after, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, good dude, and fired up for him. And they will kick off Game 1 tomorrow. Said they flew out to New York after the game, got in around 3:30, and we'll take the day off today and then get after it coming up tomorrow.
It was interesting how he talked about, and he's dead on, I mean, really physical defenses. Both the Raptors really rely on that, and then Detroit, I don't know that the Knicks are going to get after him that much, so look for Sam if he can get a little space to make some more shots in the Eastern Conference Finals.
So when you're in the East and you played these teams 4 times already, and you start off a playoff series, it's like when you play a team in a conference tournament, you already know who they are. You know what they do, their weaknesses, their strengths. You've got the scouting report on them. Is there much really to prepare for when you kick off a series like this in terms of hey, they'll do this and this and this? I'm sure there's tweaks, but for the most part, you know what you're going to get, right?
You do, and you know personnel. It's not like, hey, which one's Brunson?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that one with the ball in his hands about 80% of the time. No, and so you're way ahead. I think the things that they'll walk through are coverages on certain actions that have given them trouble in the past. So they just find things to fine-tune, how they're going to handle if they want to get the ball out of Brunson's hands, those types of things. So probably nothing new, but just mainly refreshers, like Sam said.
Yeah. All right, let's get to it. Sports Roulette. Lloyd, fire up that wheel.
Pac-12 and Mountain West have come to an agreement.
So this divorce was getting ugly. It was getting nasty. And now the question is, how did they resolve it? Because it was a lawsuit with almost, hundreds of millions of dollars involved. And John Wilner, the Hammer, who I believe was on with you guys on Friday,
right,
said that per court listings, the Pac-12 and the Mountain West have reached a settlement in principle. No details, no docs, and nothing finalized. A hearing was scheduled for June 9th, and nobody wanted that. There's this thing called discovery that neither conference wanted any part.
You don't want anybody discovering anything.
No, and you had to figure that this was going to get settled in some way, shape, or form. Now the question is, how much are people paying? What is the cost going to be involved for these individual schools like Utah State? How much money are they going to have to come up with to shell back out to the Mountain West for their exit fees? Because there were significant fees if you were to leave, and Utah State, Fresno State, Colorado State, Boise State, San Diego State all left. And so now the question is, how much do they owe? What have they figured out? And So no details as of yet. That's going to be pretty fascinating to see how it plays out.
Come out in the wash, though. We'll find out.
Oh, yeah.
We'll find out.
No, it's definitely going to come out eventually. All right, Lloyd, fired up.
NBA Finals start tonight.
Western Conference Finals tonight.
NBA Finals.
Okay, NBA Finals.
I mean,
I'd pick up what you're putting down.
No, I know what you're saying, but I'm like, let's come on.
Have some decorum.
It is.
Yeah. It is the NBA Finals, though.
It might as well
Oklahoma
be.
City and San Antonio tonight.
Actually, the phrase might as well be. Back in the day, there was an old show called Marcus Welby, MD.
That's
so in our house, even my kids
back.
to this point, because I took it from high school, anything is might as well be to say Marcus Welby.
Marcus Welby.
So it Marcus Welby the final, because you're going to see, just two teams that are on a collision course. The intriguing part, the Spurs, the underdog, has had the Thunder's number this season. And wonder if that can continue. But the Thunder have guy after guy after guy to try to make it so.
This Thunder team has not been really pushed as of yet. Both rounds, both sweeps. So if they get punched in the mouth, how do they respond? And I think they'll respond fine. And they will get punched in the mouth. San Antonio will throw a haymaker or two in this series. I think it goes 6. You think it goes 7. Either way, we're going to have a much more interesting series than anything we've seen yet from Oklahoma City.
And I know Fox is questionable tonight with an ankle. So that'll be kind of a game time situation. And these series are always interesting because you can't make too many observations from game one. Everybody wants to jump, like I did with Detroit, like, they're just going to manhandle. But Cleveland did what they had to do. They stood up and they fought it off, and more power to them. I'm happy for them. And tonight should be great. I'm excited to see, like you said, OKC get tested, how they respond. But like Rudy T says, never underestimate the heart of a champion.
Rudy T, man.
Known for that and getting hit by Kermit Washington.
Yes, darn near killed by Kermit Washington. And I may have won a title or two.
That is the definition of a sucker punch.
Oof.
Just look at that.
When John Feinstein writes an entire book about one singular punch, that was quite a historic moment.
The punch heard around the league.
Oof. All right, Lloyd, spin it.
New man in New Orleans.
He didn't stay unemployed long. Former Orlando Magic head coach Jamal Mosley will now be the head coach of the New Orleans Pelicans, signed a 5-year contract. Magic went to 3 consecutive playoffs as Mosley turned that program around, but was still fired on May 4th. Well, now on what's today, May 17th, May 18th, he's now the new head coach at New Orleans. So they weren't wasting much time getting him back on a bench, and I frankly think he deserves it.
Oh, he's great. He'll be great there. I think a change of voice. There was rumor that this position may go to Rajon Rondo, kind of a left field hire, but they ended up hiring the more known commodity.
Would you ever in a million years hire Rajon Rondo to be a head coach?
No, I'd be worried about him getting to the bus without a conflict.
Yeah.
No. And, I'm sure he's fine now, but he was very temperamental.
Yes.
So Mosley will be good there. The question, will he be able to get Zion to actually be productive for a season and bring everybody else along? Everybody else has tried and failed. We'll see. Jamal's turn. Jamal, you're on the clock.
Is Zion's story ultimately going to be what could have been in terms of the player? Like, is it ever going to click for him, do you think?
I always worried. I just thought the size and the strength combination, everything, that just the rigors of 82 games was going to be a beast. I saw that from a mile away. I watched him. I talked about watching Sam in AAU. I watched Zion in AAU.
Oh, that had to have been fun.
It was awesome. But I remember we were in, I think it was Indy again. We were in a facility where there was a court below. We were standing above it. And, it was somewhat attached to the basket. And when he went up and dunked it, you could feel the floor we were standing on shake. He was big and strong. But that was what I worried about right then and there was, I just don't know if his joints and everything can handle it.
And then also, too, there's unfortunately, there's a question mark about does he really
Discipline,
want to put in the work and the discipline that's involved?
Does he love to play, like you said? And were you willing to give up something you love and food? And he's living in a tough town for that.
Yeah.
Because everything there, I mean, you want a fried pickle? Do you want a fried donut?
Yeah.
Food is so good there.
Or how about a fried, what are their famous little pastries there?
Oh, the beignets.
Beignet.
Yeah.
Everything's fried.
You know what? Not a huge fan of the beignet.
Didn't love it myself.
Yeah.
Like the powdered sugar part of it.
Yeah, but it's just like,
It's like Wonder Bread crinkled up.
Yeah. Now you give me a fried shrimp po' boy with some of that Cajun sauce, then we're talking.
The underrated is a scone. Scones are amazing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Honey,
Oh,
butter.
yeah, absolutely. Remember?
I'll take that over a beignet any day.
Like, I don't even think they exist anymore. Is there a scone cutter even around anymore?
I think there is, actually.
Really?
I think there is, yeah.
Back
there
in the
used to be one right there in Murray.
And there's one on
by,
21st.
And I also think there's
Did
one
you
on
say Murray?
Murray, right next to the Pizza Bender.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there used to be, but there's no longer. I think there is one maybe on 90th South, I think.
No, I know that one. That one's
the one on 90th by the golf course? By Mountain View?
Okay, never mind. I'm thinking right off the freeway.
I think it's still there, maybe.
But, back in the day, college, scone cutter, 1 a.m. because it was open 24/7.
Which is a great choice.
Yes. That was a must after, hanging out with the buddies and you need to put something in the old stomach, scone cutter for the win.
Jamal Mosley, good. Beignets, bad.
Yes.
Scones, good.
Scones, good.
And that's basically the recap of that little piece.
And one more. Lloyd, fired up.
MVP times 2.
No shocker here. SGA expected to be named the NBA's most valuable player for the second consecutive year. Kind of a no-brainer, right?
No-brainer this year, yeah. And with Jokic had a great year, but the way Denver just kind of, exited stage left really early in the process. I'm about the best team and their best player, and there's no doubt that they got that here.
By the way, he is the 5th player to be named MVP in consecutive years. He's also the 7th player in the last 40 years to win multiple MVPs. The others, obviously, Jokic, Giannis, Curry, Tim Duncan, LeBron James, and some guy named Michael Jordan.
Pretty good company.
That's not bad company to be hanging out with.
I'm mark it down on May 18th today. I'm saying Wemby wins it next year and will for a few years in a row.
Yeah.
He's going to go on a run.
I think things are starting to click for him. So, Shay, enjoy that because you're going to be handing that over to Wemby for quite some time.
And really, that's what this series is going to be about, kind of the MVP against the guy that's going to be. And, can he win out of turn? Can he come up and win out of turn? Because that's typically something you kind of have to earn your stripes. Can he do it?
By the way, not the 7th guy to win multiple. It's the 7th guy to win multiple MVPs before turning 28 because I already knew that I was going to get Karl Malone won multiple. That was past 28. Karl, by the way, had the greatest line of all time when he won his first MVP. He's like, I appreciate Jordan let me borrowing his trophy for a year.
Well said, Karl. Although he should have said letting Karl borrow it.
Yeah.
So
Karl appreciates letting Michael let Karl borrow his trophy.
I went to a function a couple years ago, and it was here in Salt Lake at a cool little hangout spot. And Karl had a cigar. He was putting cigar. He had a cigar brand or a drink brand or something that he was putting out. And I ended up going to it and got to hang out just kind of in a crowd while he was talking. And somebody asked him, what are you doing all day? And he's like, I'm in the excavator all day. Like he seriously, that dude, talk about a warrior playing every day. He shows up and does that still 12 hours a day right now. And he loves it. He absolutely loves it. So he gets in that thing, turns the tunes on and moves earth.
It still looks like he's rocking
he looked
8%
amazing.
body fat.
Yeah, he looked amazing.
Yeah. All right, we'll wrap up this bad boy next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready or not, summer is coming, and Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance is on now. Right now through May 25th, get up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair. Plus, score amazing doorbuster deals all sale long and surprise flash deals on Memorial Day. We're talking thousands of products at every style and budget. Now is the time to save big on must-haves for your patio, backyard, and beyond. These savings won't last, so don't wait. Shop Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance now through May 25th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Gerard alongside the coach, Tim LaComb. By the way, a little bit of coaching news. Andrew May stepped down as the head coach of Snow College and now will become an assistant at UVU. May not necessarily be a household name, but you love this guy.
Yeah, I worked with Andrew forever at BYU. He was our ops guy, first a manager there, and then coach hired him as the operations guy. And he left and went to, for a little while, he went to Salt Lake Community College and worked with Todd Phillips. And so they've worked together before. They work together great. It makes a ton of sense. And Andrew had a nice run at Snow. Got to the national tournament every year he was there. And so he's done a great job. I'm excited those two will be back together. And Utah Valley's in good hands down there, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And I got to imagine Todd's moving up the food chain. Like the sky's the limit for him.
I agree. I think, like we were just talking off air, what impressed me most about Andrew is he's doing it with, Andrew did it at Snow with guys that he could get down there and, did a great job. And Todd's done a great job. He's identified players and other systems that could fit. He's certainly moved guys on. You've seen guys come through and go on, which is a part of it. But, as long as he can keep bringing good players and continue to compete for conference titles every year, he's in a great spot.
Fun show today. Big thanks to Shehan Jeyarajah. Also, a big thanks to Sam Merrill, who joined us on the program, and Brian Taylor. Jake and Ben coming up next right here on The Zone.
Ready or not, summer is coming, and Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance is on now. Right now through May 25th, get up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair. Plus, score amazing doorbuster deals all sale long and surprise flash deals on Memorial Day. We're talking thousands of products at every style and budget. Now is the time to save big on must-haves for your patio, backyard, and beyond. These savings won't last, so don't wait. Shop Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance now through May 25th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Summer is all about freedom, fun, and growing up. And between the ages of 9 and 13, kids are starting to form their views about alcohol. With more independence, their still developing brains need more guidance and support than ever. That's why summer is the perfect time to stay connected and plan fun, safe family activities together. Research shows kids who spend quality time with their parents doing what they enjoy are less likely to drink underage. And when kids feel close to you, they're more likely to listen, especially when you set clear expectations. In fact, kids who drink before 15 are far more likely to struggle with alcohol later. This summer, create a no-bummer summer with fun, alcohol-free activities for your kids. Go to summer.parentsempowered.org to take a quick quiz and discover ideas tailored to your family. A little time together can make a big difference. For more information and to learn more about how to prevent underage drinking, visit parentsempowered.org.